lead walker and a side walker to make sure that the child is completely safe. So there is assistance. But the best part of this experience is knowing that the child is treated like any other child. And there's no talking about whatever their disability is. And whatever the child can do, but they are always treated as just a regular kid who's learning how to ride a horse versus focusing on their disability. At Gallop NYC, they actually focus on what they can do and not on what they can't do. And if that isn't the picture of hope, I don't know what is. I volunteered several times, and I wish I could volunteer more. This past year, there were less and less people that were volunteering, but I'm really believing that now things are going to pick up and there will be more opportunities for volunteering. Gallop NYC, and I'll put that website in the comments below. I hope you can hear me over the crunching of the snow. I really love the crunching of the snow. Yeah, I definitely wore the wrong shoes today. But I am not too far from home, and I do have on wool socks. And I suppose it makes this trip a bit more interesting. I mean, as far as like, oh, I was so adventurous. I took my GoPro into the depths of the mud of Central Park. I risked my little toes. Okay, it's not that cold and it's not that dramatic. And I can just tell you that wool socks, even when wet, can keep you pretty warm. This is everywhere. Look, that's a mask. Everywhere we go. Sign of the times. since I really haven't found my audience yet, I don't know if anyone's going to appreciate this reference. But as I was hearing the snow crunch, it made me think of the beautiful television program called The Little House on the Prairie. That show for me represents a simpler time, probably a more physically demanding time on our bodies, but as far as like relationships, the family sitting at the table and discussing what's happened during the day, the saying grace before eating the food, really honoring the gift of food. Maybe they made it themselves in their own garden, or maybe it had to come from 10 miles away on a horse and carriage. But for me, those times when the family sat at the table and really listened to one another's concerns, as well as whatever great had happened that day, was a simpler time. A time when people were heard because there wasn't another distraction. There wasn't a television. There wasn't a smartphone. There wasn't a computer. It was a simpler time. And of course, technology is a beautiful thing. I'm certainly not saying that I don't appreciate technology, but something I think we're missing right now is the simplicity of being able to focus on one human being right in front of you. One person. Looking them in their eyes, and they know and you know that there really isn't anybody else. And that can be a group of people. But the idea that where you are is really where you are versus all of the things that pull us now. Several years ago, I did something called green dimes, and I don't know if they exist anymore, but basically all of your junk mail that came to your house, all your catalogs, all sorts of things other than your personal bills, you could actually contact Green Dimes. You paid $20, and then they canceled all those things for you. They contacted those organizations and made sure that none of that junk mail would come unless you wanted some of it. Like, I have a catalog that I've always liked, so I still have that catalog. Well, why am I bringing it up? Because today, technology is always beckoning us to upload, to download, and to consume, right? Like right now, we're consuming some content, and I'm really grateful because I truly believe that this city is beautiful and I want to share that beauty. But I think about our email boxes, and I think part of being an educated society is by saying yes and yes and yes and yes and yes to all of these things and wanting to learn everything. And it's beautiful to want to learn. But when it stops us from connecting with others, maybe technology gets in the way. Alrighty then, so Here we are back at the party.